Support WrestleTalk!
Is it Chad time? Is it time for Chad Gable to dethrone Gunther for the IC title?
Thank you!
Thank you! I think it is. And also, I think we're still live, right?
Just let us know you.
We're still live, right?
I would like the record to state that I haven't touched a single thing since I sat down, so it can't possibly be my fault. Luke's not his fault either. Technical issues.
All of a sudden, we were all set to go live and everything.
Everything seemed fine.
And then Streamlabs was like,
nah.
And then Streamlabs created a load of duplicate events.
Yeah. Streamlabs hates Chad Gable. Confirmed.
Finally,
Yeah.
we are launching this episode talking about Chad Gable.
Yeah.
You know, our favoritist
It's
thing.
what we've been wanting to do for literal months.
And then Streamlabs is like, nah.
Shim said, no, ma'am.
No straight. You're not talking about Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar? Absolutely not.
Honestly outrageous.
Chat's confirmed. We're all okay.
Goodness.
Phew. Well, I am Luke Owen, DAD. I'm joined by the Professor, the Truth, Dan Layton. We are pretty dadly, and this is the WrestleTalk Podcast. Please do press the subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up as well, and leave your comment down below if you're watching this on demand with what you thought of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, and if you think Chad Gable should dethrone Roman Reigns. And if you're watching live, get in your... I don't know what it's called now.
Well, it's actually so apropos. Oh my gosh, I've just realized. Because last week we decided AlphaChats.
Of course, because the
Omega
Chat.
Alpha. We love the Alpha Academy. Chad Gable should dethrone Gunther. So get in your AlphaChats to support Gable himself.
So support at WrestleTalk.com/support. You threw me off there, Dan, with your excellentness.
I used to use the word support in its actual context, and that was it's never been done on this channel before. So
WrestleTalk.com/support. Get in your Alpha Chats and let us know what you thought of this episode of Raw and whether or not you think Chad Gable should dethrone Gunther, because I think it's a bit of a lively debate.
Yes.
So tomorrow on this very channel, myself and Chopper P. Quinnell will be going through our SummerSlam predictions, and I laid out in there that I think that Chad Gable should be the man to dethrone Gunther, and he threw back in my face, Sheamus.
Well, now here's the thing.
I've seen some people in the chat. Ilya Dragunov should be the man, which I do very much like.
Now, here's the thing. Here's my thing for all of that, right? 2 weeks ago on this very podcast, and I'll get the footage. I've got it ready if I need to. I said after the Viking Rules match that I've been so enamored and impressed and in love with everything Chad Gable has done for absolute years. It was specifically the moonsault to break up the pin that led into the German suplex onto, I want to say Eric, but it might be Ivar. I can never remember which one is which. Viking Raiders bald. Not that one, the other one.
That's Raymond Rowe.
Fine. That was a moment where I was like, you can do anything. Like, you're just... The thing with Chad Gable has always been for me that he is this kind of incredible athlete right the way back to American Alpha, that incredible tag series they had. That was cut short too soon by taking Jason Jordan into the Angle storyline, and then the devastating injury to Jason Jordan. Chad Gable has always been this unreal Olympic pedigree athlete. And he's also incredibly talented as a performer. He's got this natural charisma. He's got chemistry with basically everybody. And it's that exact same thing that Kurt Angle always had, which was where I can see you doing Team ECK, benefit of those with flash photography, 5-second poses, and I can buy you, when that bell rings, to absolutely be a machine in the ring. Like, that's always who he was, and that's the same with Chad Gable. So in that moment, I was like...
Kurt Angle, and I think it's like SummerSlam 2000, is doing the skit with the Jug Boat, the Jug Boat bands.
Right.
The Jug Band, rather, with Edge and Christian. And then a couple of months later is WWF champion.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. That's the point. It's this level of credibility that you have. And Angle always talked about it, not being afraid to laugh at yourself. And I think Chad Gable has shown that with this gimmick, he's able to pull all things off. Also, he's handsome. He's exactly what you want to be the face of your company. He's an action figure in and of himself. I think there's someone you could, if you wanted to push the right way, build the company around. And I was like, well, he's not there yet. He's got to do a lot to sort of get to it. He's got to do some rehab, I suppose, in terms of positioning him by us to be seen as that. You could do a lot worse than giving him a program with Jumper, giving him a program with Gunther. Maybe it's because we put the aircon on, so it's cold, and I'm thinking about... You can give him a program with Gunther and jumpstart him. You can jumpstart him. That's where I was going with that. Point being, I've been on this train for a while. Thrilled that you agree. Wouldn't doubt you for a second because we've been on the Alpha train. I do see the Sheamus point.
I see the Sheamus point as well.
That was an incredibly satisfying story. He's never had it. He's always wanted it. And I think it would be very satisfying to see Gunther lose it to Sheamus because of their history together.
Going back to Clash of the Castle last year, and then WrestleMania this year.
Exactly. And even the SmackDown that they had, that was that match where he tapped out but didn't fully tap out. Yeah. So it was to make Sheamus think he had. Oh, that was amazing. I was thinking about that earlier on when I was watching the G1. Oh, it was so good. But to let you start talking in a second, I'm just fully enthusiastic, and what's the word? It's the religious word.
Jumper.
Evangelical.
Elated.
I'm evangelical about this. What happens after a long reign? We've seen it with Asuka right now. She's kind of also there in a storyline between Charlotte Flair and Bianca.
She does feel like the third wheel in her own storyline.
Yeah, and that's a real shame. With Roman Reigns, the idea, I don't believe for a second that Jey Uso is going to win at the weekend. I think that Roman Reigns losing 3 times in a row is unlikely. I think that Jey has been built to be main event Jey Uso. I can see a world where he becomes tribal chief, but not the world champion, because after a reign like 1,000 days, that can be the most incredible thing. But what comes next? How do you take that moment and turn it into something? Think about Kofi Mania, right? So after Gunther's reign, you can use that to build a star in Chad Gable, I think, more than you can do for Sheamus.
And I will say this on tomorrow's prediction show as well, and perhaps I'm going to sound like the stuck record, the old man yelling at clouds here. They're on different brands.
They are.
It is hard to do the Sheamus storyline anytime soon when they're on different brands, unless you just go, F it. Doesn't matter anyway.
Which is kind of their approach.
Which is kind of their approach, but I find that to be a very frustrating approach because either commit or don't. You know, either S or get off the pot.
Yes.
Like there are two worldviews here.
Yeah.
So I have been a big Chad Gable guy for going back to when they first came up in NXT. And I remember back then he was getting the Kurt Angle comparisons then because he reminded everyone of goofy Kurt Angle, that first 6-month run of Kurt in WWF when he was the Olympic gold. You do not boo an Olympic gold medalist and all this sort of stuff. I'm the first ever Eurocontinental champion, apart from D'Lo Brown, but he doesn't count.
Very good line.
Why are you cheering for him? He's a vampire. the very goofy side of Kurt Angle, and he had the towel and everything, the whole Ready, Willing, and Gable shtick that he was doing with Jason Jordan. Like, he actually got completely revitalized Jason Jordan's run because he was just tagging with Sean Spears and going nowhere.
Well, Jason Jordan is a specimen, like an absolute athlete,
but he brought the best.
But was also kind of a presence. Is your average wrestler.
Chad really brought out the best in Jason Jordan.
Exactly.
And like he has done nothing but like great work since he's come up to the main roster. Like no matter what position he's thrown into, he gives it 110% and just absolutely runs with it. This whole Alpha Academy thing, started as a bit of it's a comedy tag team, but they've made it work so much to the point where they've become genuine, legit baby faces. Yeah. And adding Maxxine to this group has only made them get even more over.
Things that shouldn't work that start working.
Exactly. And this Viking Raiders feud has been genuinely one of my highlights of WWE over the past few months. It is my favorite thing in WWE right now. Every time they have a segment, I am entertained and I'm having fun and I really, really like it. But on this episode, we'll talk about the Maxxine match in a little bit. But on this episode, we had a backstage segment where the Alpha Academy was celebrating with Maxxine after her beating Valhalla in their little match. And Imperium walk up. Now, Gunther and Chad have been doing a lot of stuff on the house show circuit. And so we kind of I think if what people tend to look at is like, what are the house show matches? That's probably the direction we're going to be going in the next couple of months. So they've been doing a lot of stuff on the house shows. And Gunther walked up to him and they're sort of mocking them for, celebrating the win that they got, because that's not really, what you're doing is not real wrestling. And he said, you wouldn't even last 5 minutes with me. So I go, all I need 5 minutes? I could easily last 5. I could last 5 hours. Gunther says, you're on. They didn't actually really set up like there and then, it's going to be a match and it's going to be a 5 minute. But when the bell rang, the little timer came up and they're like, it's a 5 minute match.
I kind of figured that's what was going down.
I think everyone figured they just didn't spell it out of time, but they didn't need to.
Yeah.
They put it up on screen. It's a 5 minute timer. And they had this awesome match that was, for the first 2.5 minutes, not a lot going on because it was Gunther not thinking, I need all 5 minutes here. I only need 30 seconds with this little man. So I'm just going to toy with him a little bit. And he does his bits and he does his bobs there, but he's constantly looking up at the clock. And the more he looks up at the clock, the more he realizes the time is running out and I've got to put this guy away. Otherwise, I'm going to look very, very silly here. And I do not say this a lot. Credit to Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves, because I think they really got over the seriousness of the 5 minute time limit and the desperation that Gunther then found himself in. Because the final sequence of this 5 minutes was Gunther locks him in the sleeper hold, and Corey Graves had this great call where he's like, no human man can can hold his breath for 40 seconds. Chad Gable's done.
Yeah.
Chad Gable's still going. And Gunther's looking up at the clock and he's got the sleeper on and the seconds are ticking away and this man is not tapping out. And so he lets go and Corey goes, that feels like a mistake. But no, Gunther just starts clobbering him in the chest. And it's like, right, enough of this. You're not tapping out. Powerbomb it is then. Hoiks him up for the powerbomb. Chad Gable reverses the powerbomb and takes Gunther to the outside. 3, 2, 1. The time limit expires. The crowd for this, by the way, were going ballistic throughout. They were so into Chad Gable. And that's, again, because of the great work they've been doing with the Viking Raiders and the whole Alpha Academy thing with Maxxine.
Also because he's the tits.
And because he's great. Like, you mentioned the German suplex spot that he did with Ivar. Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. He hit the Chaos Theory on Braun Strowman. And I was like, there's no way he's going to... I leapt out of my chair. You were sat next to me. I did, and he leapt into your lap. So they're about... And then Corey's like, Gunther's lost. And I go, this is a loss for Gunther. This is a huge loss for Gunther. This is something that does not happen. The ring general does not lose. And they're about to announce Chad Gable as the winner. And Gunther grabs the microphone and he's like, no. No. Give me more time.
He did announce it as the winner, and this is where it starts falling apart for me.
I thought they were about to announce it. They were halfway through, and he snatched the microphone and said, "No, give me more time. We'll do this more time." And they do. And what we get next is just an awesome match that, for me, now has way more stakes to it. Because Chad has shown, not only can I go 5 minutes with you, I actually might be able to outmaneuver you in some of these scenarios. And Gunther's like, well, I'm just pissed off now because you kind of made a bit of a fool of me and I really need to make a statement with you. And what they have are these incredible counters and big moves, these huge lariats, these huge boots, these big, huge German suplexes from Gunther. But every now and again, Chad Gable might get in that Chaos Theory suplex, but he can't quite get it. Or he gets a deadlift German on him. He gets in the ankle lock. And Gunther just pops up out of nowhere and he's like, I've had enough of this. And just chops the soul out of his body, hoiks him up, chops the soul right back in. And he hoiks him up, chops the soul out of his body again, powerbombed him into the earth and pinned him 1, 2, 3. I loved every single thing about this. It was like Gunther was annoyed this went as long as it did. Genuinely irritated that he had to work hard and he was shown up by this little man.
Yeah.
And it was that moment there when I was like, that's the guy.
Right.
That's the guy that
you saw it.
I was like, that's the guy that dethroned him.
Yeah.
Because there's your follow. And I think, quite clearly setting this up, this will be the feud for the IC title once he beats Drew at SummerSlam.
Yeah, they have been doing that for a while, haven't they? Sort of setting up the hit, because this doesn't come out of nowhere, and they don't do this without there being a follow-on in some way, shape, or form, right? I feel like that is kind of what's coming.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to that point you and I were making in the lead up to Backlash, where this is not. I had this thing where I was like, I'm annoyed that they keep telling me Gunther versus Matt Riddle is the program, but they're doing Gunther versus Ali on pay-per-view. Well, but this is a different thing of no, Gunther versus Drew is the match, and that's the match. But we are putting a little, we're planting a seed. This is something that we could do once the Drew match is finished.
I think what's interesting is because I think we know that this reign is going for a long time, and until they are at this point they are pointing out they're having him go up the rankings. They've done the top 5, and he's just beaten, I want to say,
I'm not sure. I'm going to check.
There was a graphic on the Twitter account that I didn't see. He's close to Pedro Morales at this point.
Exactly. It's the day after Payback.
Yes.
Is when
no, it's not. It's the 7th.
Oh, is it the 7th?
The day before the SmackDown after Payback.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if I've done my maths right, I'm pretty sure about that.
He told me it was the day after Payback, and I just believed him.
Well, it's possible, because I'm just a pretty face. But so we know that's going to happen, and as a result, we're not waiting. The peril is he's probably not going to lose it. Like, there's always that 1% chance. There's always a possibility. It's Logan Paul and Roman Reigns, right? There's always a chance that Drew McIntyre wins. But I don't think any of us have Drew McIntyre. As much as I am salivating for this match,
I think the match is going to slap.
it's going to be the one of, if possibly, it's going to be the match stealer, as the Gunther Bruiser matches always are. I don't think any of us think he's going to win, right? Gunther's going to retain. So they need to add some form of peril in there just to give us that slither of doubt. It's the same thing I have with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. Jey has pinned Roman, so we know it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Roman has lost twice in a row. We know it can happen. That's what hooks you in and gives you that moment of they could do it. I don't think they will, but it's providing you in narrative with a reason to believe, a reason to suspend your disbelief and forget the sort of I'm a mark, I know what's going on stuff. What's they're doing here is they're having Imperium be a little bit fallible. They're having the dissension in the Imperium ranks. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, which will happen. We'll get to that. And by having Gable go toe-to-toe with Gunther, that's showing that Gunther is beatable. That Gunther can often be a little bit hoisted on his own petard. He believes his own hype.
He certainly was in this, like his whole
Yeah.
reason for saying of this match is like, you don't stand a chance against me. You're a pipsqueak. You stand no chance against me. You wouldn't last 5 minutes in the ring with me. And Gable not only did that, but did
then
much
went
more.
off in the other half. And so I think that's what is being done here. It's to sow the seed for a future Gable feud, and it's to provide us with something else to believe that Gunther might be rattled going into Saturday. Where I start to diverge from you, and I'm devastated to say this, and
here he is, everyone.
Stop it!
Oh, here he is.
You set this whole stream up to throw me under the bus.
Oh, everyone. I've only got a plate of chips around because Dan's about to piss all over them. Who's got a parade on?
Vinegar.
Who's got a parade? Here comes Rain Cloud over here.
I wanted to say naughty words to you just now. Here's...
I'm teasing, darling.
You are, but you're also... I know that's what the chat is saying as well. I know the comments are going to come for me. Look, I demand nothing but flawlessness, because let me say, every single Alpha Academy run that we've had over the past few weeks, even the stuff going back into last year, I am the no one is a bigger mark for Alpha Academy and Chad Gable than me. All right? I am their biggest fan. Lest we forget, 2 weeks ago, I was the first person on the channel to say this. Sod it. Believe in your own source. CM Punk logic. I was the only person to mention Chad Gable being the one to take it up from Gunther. So with this, when I was told I was getting this, I was on cloud 9. The problem was they did stupid WWE booking logic things that frustrated the ever-living hell out of me. The match itself, the wrestling itself, unreal. Just an amuse-bouche of what we're gonna get in the feud between them. Oh my god, can you imagine a full-on pay-per-view match that goes maybe 20 minutes with Chad Gable and Gunther? I want to cry at the prospect.
They also teased the idea of they didn't hit the chaos theory.
Yeah, but he could do it.
They could do it. It was all built around the idea that he could do this. He didn't do it in this match,
but he could do it.
And
it's a different... And also, I didn't do it. And it's Chad Gable, so he'll go back to the drawing board and he'll be like, how do I do it? Well, maybe I need to use the lower abs of the 15 that I have. Like, that's what makes Chad Gable magic. And also, the match is just going to be incredible, and we know it, and it's going to be something different that we haven't seen from Gunther before, right? Like, we've seen a lot of clobbery Gunther matches, and even the ones with Matt Riddle have been strike fests. Gable's a wrestler. Like, he can do the striking, he can do the kicking. He's a wrestler. It's going to be such an incredible prospect. I'm so high on it, I want to stress that. But then WWE does stupid booking things, where I'm afraid they did announce that Chad Gable was the winner. They said... the time limit is over, and therefore the winner of this match, Chad Gable. Chad Gable's up there going like that, and then Gunther goes, "No, start the match again. I want more." And they went, "Yeah, right." Like, and all we were told, we didn't even get an official. Just Samantha Irvin sort of announced it. They said, "Yeah, it's going to be allowed." Like, so Adam Pearce is just off there, who comes out later in the show to do a little bit of like, "I'm telling you off" heel. But he was okay with that one, but there was no... It just didn't make any sense. And I think I felt the drama, and I felt the... everything you've described in both halves, I felt, right? I felt the absolute drama of him being choked out by... like clinging on, and Gunther being frustrated and trying to batter him, and knowing that I'm running out of time here. I felt all of that, and I felt that was cheapened by them taking it away, announcing the winner, and then going, no, never mind, banter that off. Gunther won in the end. It would have been so much more satisfying if they had found a way to combine both halves of this match into one and have it be fully. Chad Gable did not pin. He did not pin Gunther. That was never in doubt. I don't think any of us thought that was going to happen. Gunther did not pin. Gunther did not submit. Gunther lost purely on a time basis. And then you can go back into it next time. Because that's the heel getting the treatment of like, well, yeah, don't be such a div next time. Like
here's the thing,
it's the logic part.
And you're actually, I don't disagree with you, because there is the logic hole in there. How did this match get restarted?
Yeah.
Why did the match get restarted?
It didn't need to. It cheapened it.
But
the rest of it was 5 stars.
That's where I disagree, because I don't think it cheapened it, because I actually think that the time limit going into the second half heightened the drama of the second half of this match way more if this had just been a 10-minute match.
Here's another thing that could have done to make it better. Chad Gable goes, yeah, let's carry on.
I think Chad did say, like,
did he? I don't remember that. I think that's revisionist.
But I don't know if that's just me dreaming and thinking that is what happened. But he did seem quite game for it. It's like he didn't run away from the prospect of doing so. But I genuinely do think that the time limit was a genius aspect of
that part's not a problem,
because I think that added so much into the first half and it played into so much into the second half.
Right.
And to your point, you could have just done the first half of this with the time limit and then built this up after the SummerSlam match. But you do need to give Gunther a win going into the pay-per-view, because as we all know, wins and losses don't matter.
So I don't think you do, because that was my point of giving us a little bit of peril, because I think we all believe that he's going to win. So I think he can take a timeout loss to Chad Gable in this context and be absolutely fine.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think you're totally off the boil there.
I'm just grumpy. I'm just a grumpy sod.
But I think for me this whole thing worked, and I really, really liked how this was all put together. And I never had that moment where I was taken out of it. Maybe it's because I was just so invested in Chad and in Gunther's annoyance. And actually, as I put over again, the commentary, I didn't have that moment where it's like, well, hang on a tick. Why did this match get restarted? I just saw this pissed off Austrian that was just like, no, F this. I will not be shown up in this town. I'm going to go knock that little guy out now and prove that I should have won 5 minutes ago.
Do you know what I think it is? Is I'm more willing than most to suspend my disbelief. Like, I have more leeway and lenience with a lot of things, especially when I think it's just a bit whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just nonsense, and they're not trying that hard, so I won't try that hard. When I care, like when I expect the best, and it's Gunther and Chad Gable, and I'm genuinely so excited for this.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like you better not do any stupid logic things, because I really want it to be the best.
Well, the thing is, Dan, is you're just such a WWE mark. You just hate everything that AEW
I hate
does.
all things. I'm an equal opportunity hater. I don't like any wrestling, and I've never watched it before in my life.
I thought this was awesome, but to the point of the episode, do you think it should be Chad to be the guy to beat Gunther?
I think it depends what you want to do. I think it shouldn't be. I'm going to take Ilya and say I don't think it should be just yet, because I think Ilya hasn't debuted on the main roster. I think it would be a little bit too much too soon. Although I would love to see the match,
because they will have,
because they had already, and I mean, that's a case in point. Someone who took the title off Gunther after a long reign was Ilya Dragunov. We have the previous with that, and I think that was a success. Do I think Sheamus? I can see a really strong argument for it. Removing the brand split from the questions, there are workarounds you can do. If you want us to do a hard brand split, maybe Sheamus loses and Matt shows up on, I don't know. But it was the Money in the Bank thing we always talked about. There are ways you can do it. I think you can make a case it would be an incredibly emotionally satisfying moment for Sheamus to win that belt, end of sentence, win it from Gunther, even more satisfying. So if you wanted to make that case, I wouldn't fight you. I just think you have an opportunity. Gunther has not only built Gunther up, he's built up the Intercontinental title belt better.
That title feels way bigger than Seth's belt.
Way bigger than Seth's belt. And that's to the point that you don't need to have two world champions. That you've always said, and I've always been a little bit like, whatever, I don't really mind. There's an example of me saying I don't really care. I think if you want to keep both of those things going, Gunther as star and Intercontinental title as meaningful, and build someone else as well, I think it's Chad Gable's.
Because my thinking I had on this morning when I was like, I could certainly But I would put Chad in the position to take the belt off of Gunther, because also then I can move Gunther into that world title program, which is like, once he's lost that Intercontinental title, I don't want to see him in rematches for that belt. I want to see that boy move into that main event and have those world title matches.
I'd even give him a month off after he loses it.
Yeah, actually, I don't think that's a bad move. Like, and then just have him come back, and you can do, like, if you have Balor with the belt, do Imperium versus Judgment Day as like a little mini feud. I think that would be awesome. Just
because absence makes the heart grow fonder, and if you're worried about keeping someone's momentum after they lose something, the worst thing would be for him to try and get a rematch. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest we do a poll.
Oh.
Because there's a fourth name that I'm going to throw out there.
Oh, I like.
And I'm going to throw this out to you guys, the wonderful Swaff Nation watching us here. Who should beat Gunther for the IC title? Chad Gable, Sheamus, Ilya Dragunov, Pete Dunne.
I thought you were going to say Pete. Quinnell.
Pete Quinnell.
I was like,
the fourth guy.
Pete Dunne? Where's Pete Dunne come from?
Well, because the banging match they had when for the NXT UK title.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. But it's just the storyline wise, that's come out of nowhere. It would be mean to
so
Sheamus.
So would be Dragunov in a way.
Yes.
Like, it's all about if you would do a good story.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of matches I would like to have more of on the main roster.
Yeah.
Maybe I want more out of Pete Dunne on the main roster, because he's right there and you're choosing not to do it.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Pete
Dunne.
Yeah.
Who's that? I know Butch.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's a similar lad.
That's the bit that I'm doing.
Yeah. I've got the same issue I got with Tyler Bate. Why in the blue hell is Tyler Bate still in NXT?
I think it's the question of what do you want. I mean, this is taking us away from topic, but it's the question of what do you want to be, right?
Good?
Like what?
A good wrestling company? That's probably what I'd want to be.
This is what I agree. You're preaching to the choir. I completely agree with you. I just wonder whether or not, with Moustache being a spectre still, there's a limit, or whether or not that's just not how Raw.
Talk about Mustache Mountain for a
no,
second.
the Moustache,
The Moustache,
the Just for Men
I see what
of it
you're saying.
all. But yeah.
I think we've got the poll has gone up. However, there's a slight misspelling on the Dragunov name. Ignore that, everyone. Just vote for it if you want to vote for Dragunov.
What does it say?
It is like Dragunov as opposed to Druganov, which is how it's spelled. But anyway,
well, let's be honest. When he gets to the main roster, that's what Vince is going to call him. His first name Dragon, second name Off.
Yeah. Anyway, please go and vote in the poll that is up right now. We're going to get into your
AlphaChats.
And let us know what you thought of this episode of Monday Night Raw, which I will do once I've loaded up the document. And Chew Baxter here says, "Hey there, boys. I loved the Gunther versus Gable 5-minute challenge on Reddit. I fancy booked how Chad gets the IC belt. 3 words for you: Iron Man match. Raw episode after the 8th of September. They go to war for the belt in the final hour of the show.
It's a 3-hour-long show, and you might as well fill it with an hour-long match. I'm not angry at that. That's a strong idea.
Yeah, it is a strong idea.
I got to say, I do like the 5-minute challenge framing as well, by the way. I like the idea of you can hang 5 minutes with me, and most of them can't. And then, I mean, it's a bit late now because you've shown us that it's possible from someone. What you would do is you would have Gunther be like, I've beaten everybody.
Yeah.
No one can take me for 5 minutes. And then 4 or 5 weeks' time, Chad Gable challenges and gets there. But I do like the idea of an Iron Man.
Iron Man would be very good, and they would absolutely smash that as well.
It's the battering of it all for me.
The thing that I was really excited about, so a bit of behind the scenes here, when I'm putting together the titles and the thumbnails for this episode, what I tend to do is I go to WWE's YouTube channel and see what are the most viewed videos here, because that's a bit of a barometer for me to see. Well, what are people interested in coming out of this episode of Raw? What are viewers telling me? That's the big talking point.
When the people who don't watch Raw in full on the night wake up the next day, they YouTube WWE. What are they looking for to see the highlights? What's the thing that piques their interest?
And so I'm like, cool. That's the thing that's kind of driving a lot of traffic to them. So that's what people are looking to talk about. What spin can we put that on there? You know, it's often when we sometimes go with Cody Brock stuff because those usually tend to do really good views. So when I finished this episode of Raw, I was like, man, I just want to talk about the Chad Gable thing because I loved it so much, and I just think he's such a special talent. I'm going to go on WWE's YouTube page, and it's not going to be the most viewed thing because it never is. This week it was.
Wow.
This week, like, the video of him and Gunther is outdrawing Brock and Cody brawling. The only thing that was outdrawing it was Logan Paul. And I was like, which obviously makes sense. But I was genuinely thrilled that Chad Gable versus Gunther was getting more eyeballs on it than Cody and Brock having a brawl.
And I think that speaks to Gunther as well. I think people are starting to take notice and want to see more of Gunther. And I think it's this idea of two people who can build each other up. I mean, like I've loved watching Drew in this return program because he seems really excited. He seems really into it, right? And it's when you get the same with Sheamus. Gunther essentially revitalized Sheamus's career.
100%,
you know, and not to take any credit away from Sheamus when I say that, because you know.
But in fairness, like Sheamus was doing nothing.
Yeah,
and had been doing more or less nothing on the main roster for 10+ years.
When you find
he just
someone...
sort of found himself in this sort of like mid-card vortex.
Yeah,
but the Gunther feud completely brought this the Sheamus that we've always wanted out of Sheamus.
Because
he kind of had it with the Drew feud. Yeah, he had it in the Drew feud during the pandemic.
Yes, I agree. Yeah,
but again, it wasn't in front of fans, so you didn't have that fan interaction to go with it.
Yeah, that's the genesis of it, and then it's meeting those people with whom you can have those matches that you really are passionate about and you really care about. And I think Gunther does it, and I think it's the when you look at the roster, how many times have we talked about like WWE over the years, and I say we is the general term of wrestling fans, the absolute state of their roster, like rammed full of talented people. And they're not sort of doing anything with it. I do think now we are finding more of that balance. We're getting the lineups where we're saying, oh, hang on, who should we have with like Roman next? Like I'm like, well, maybe Bobby Lashley setting up his little team of people could have a little go. Or maybe for LA Knight, I want to see him with the United States title taking on the LWO or something like I don't know. Here it's Gunther, and I wanted to see him against Riddle. I wanted to see him against Drew. I want to see him against Chad Gable. It's just great. It's just great.
And Arcletree here says, hey guys, it's an interesting one for you, Dan. While they did announce Chad as the winner, Gunther grabbed the mic and said no. Then the referee was called over by the guy with a headset on, and they had a chat and added more time. So they did confer with officials.
Oh, the shady officials who live in the darkness.
Love you guys. Jam that jam.
Adam Pearce is a coward and is scared of Gunther confirmed.
Well, let's get into the rest of this episode of Monday Night Raw. Actually, before we do, Dan, can I just take I'm just going to take a quick photo of us.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm on Instagram now.
You absolute hustler.
I'm on Instagram now, Dan. So I'm gonna put up an Instagram post while we're on air.
Luke yesterday said, Dan, can I ask you a technical question?
I need to do that one again.
He said, can I ask you a technical question? I said, yeah. Thinking it's going to be like about analytics or about, how posts work, like what hashtags to use or whatever. He goes, these messages, are they private?
Because
private messages haven't been a thing since 2001.
Dude, it's because I don't know. Like, for all I know, I was writing on his wall. I don't know what it was.
His wall. I haven't thought about walls in years.
I don't know. I'm new to the Instagrams. Like, I don't know these.
Talking about walls and things of a long time. Joe, today is a special day for me on a fully private lesson. This is 10 years since I moved to London today.
Is it really?
I'm a decade Londoner. I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else. He's literally doing the whole post now.
Okay, so what I wanted to do is I'm going to post this on my Instagram now, on my Instagrams, and I want everyone to go and follow me on Instagrams and comment on this post. Chad is ace.
Okay, look at you.
And I want every single person to go and do this.
Hashtag Chad is ace.
Yeah. Hashtag Chad is ace. Hashtag content.
Don't do too many hashtags. Maybe just Chad is ace.
Yeah. Hashtag Chad is ace.
Okay. Really is.
Okay,
DAD, isn't it?
1 second.
Like
we are live on the WrestleTalk Podcast.
About a second.
I need to tag you in it.
T-2 years ago, this was a young, vibrant, new media man. Now he's a dad. Oh, I've just got Instagram. Can you show me? In fact, you say they're doing that. I've got a funny bit.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you really?
I've got a very funny bit.
Here we go. People are already starting to like the photo.
There we go. You ready?
Yep.
Just sort of, if you put those at the end of your nose. The absolute state of this.
Sorry, I actually to just make sure that I've done this right.
He's holding his phone down there. And
Like it's all
What a
new
bit
to
of
me.
stuff and nonsense.
It's all new to me, Dan. I'm trying to move away from a hellhole. I'm already up to 761 followers, Dan.
There you go.
But the thing, I mean, hey, what if I could get to 1,000 by the end of this episode?
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be something?
Because it's now, it's still 761. But what if we went to 1,000?
What if it did?
But what if it did? You know.
What if it did?
So thank you everyone for obliging me in that. Yep, you have. Here's the thing. So someone here has said you absolute boomer, and there's a problem with that because I am a millennial. Thank you very much. I am very much a millennial and proud to be one.
I'm Gen Y.
No, you're born at 89.
Yeah, but
you're a millennial with me.
Gen X. Millennials are also Gen Y. It's just
Oh.
I don't like being all like, I'm a millennial, so I'm Gen Y. Then you've
Be
got
proud
Gen...
of your millennialness.
No, thank you. Then you've got Gen Z. Then you have Gen Alpha. And the next one, I believe, is going to be Gen Ruby and Sapphire. I've made that joke so many times.
But it's still very good, though.
Thank you.
So anyway, I'm on Instagrams now, everyone, and I need the followers to feed my tiny ego. So my frail sense of worth it requires you to shower me with stuff.
Hey, you know who else is on Instagram?
Who's that?
Logan Paul.
Social media megastar Logan Paul.
And he kicked off the show,
Do you
didn't
think
he?
I could do a viral?
I would-
Because that's what Logan Paul wants to do.
I think if you super... I can tell you a thing or two about going viral. Sex joke.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I mean, technically, you often do go viral
I'm
because
very famous and special.
Well, yeah, okay. So we were talking before we started on air. You've been an Astaff,
Asdaf movie.
yeah, many times before.
Yeah.
and
Well,
there
that's my boy.
are clips of you
Oh, my boy.
from those movies
Yeah.
that go viral.
They tick
Which
and talk
means-
all over the place.
Which means, I mean, I suppose you could give some of the credit to Tom.
Yeah, like Tom worked hard and made the sketches, but like my voice is the one that ultimately goes viral.
There
and
it is.
arguably, I am a social media megastar, so I'm allowed in the Royal Rumble.
yeah. I mean, I don't see why not.
That's
I mean, all I'm saying is I think Tom's probably done 15% of the work there, and you're a good.
That's true.
And you're a good 85% of the rest of it.
Thank you very much.
So the show opened with social media megastar Logan Paul, and he actually got some very good heat on this episode of Raw. He was kind of looking for the Dom reaction. He was trying to get that Dom beat of like not being able to talk and everything. And the crowd did pick up on it, and they started to go and like play along with a lot of it. And it was. I kind of enjoyed Logan Paul in this. And because he kept hammering home this viral thing, this match is going to go viral. We're going to go do things that go viral. That's what I do. I make things go viral and viral this and viral that. And I was like, man, he is such a douchebag.
Yeah.
Like this is a wonderful.
I literally wrote that.
He's such an irritating person.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say character because I think he's like this in real life. He's an irritating person that wants things to go viral.
Yeah.
And it works so well for this character that he's portraying. Which is slightly undermined when the commentator then going like, oh, this sure is going to be the most viral match of the night. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's not Logan Paul doing a character thing. That's just the company think this match is going to do a viral.
It's true. I remember when they tried to make this guy a babyface against Roman Reigns. Like, he's just so good at being a dick that they just sort of leave him to it. I do think the commentators talking in that kind of like, talking about, okay, boomer, like that's the sort of like, corporate speak that we try and connect it to us. Don't tell us it's not cool. Do you remember imagine when Mike Tyson was involved, right? That they'd be like, the part of what made it was that he's the baddest man on the planet. He's this boxing star, Iron Mike Tyson. Tyson and Austin. But imagine if they'd been talking instead about how it was going to be getting so many ratings. Like imagine if they'd been talking about how Tyson being on this show is really going to help us with pay-per-view buys in the upper Midwest. Like, no, that's not making it cool.
Yeah, Pete brings this up on tomorrow's SummerSlam predictions, which is like he's had quite a few viral moments for WWE, but they've all been ones that either he has done or it's just happened organically.
It is organic.
When you try and force a viral moment, it's gone completely wrong. Like the Money in the Bank one went wrong. I think Rick's flip over the ropes just didn't land as well, both figuratively and literally, as they had hoped. This isn't going the way that they thought it was going to go because they are trying to force this into being a viral thing. And it reminds me of when I worked for one of my previous jobs, and I made a video, and the numbers weren't great for it. And he's like, "Well, why don't you make it go viral?"
I didn't press the go viral button.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, well, I didn't press that button in the back end of YouTube, the go viral bit. And that's kind of what I get with a lot of this. Because like then Ricochet comes out and he basically goes like, hey, look, it's a guy that makes people pay for his content. And again, Logan Paul doing that thing he always does where he undermines the content to be like, no, I don't.
Right.
All my content's free.
Yeah.
which is, it's true, apart from Patreon paywall and things like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know why Ricochet even said that. It makes him look like a dork.
Mm.
But then he's just like, yeah, we're going to have a good match.
Mm.
And they shake hands. And I was like, all right.
Yeah,
okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But then Logan Paul, the big dickhead that he is, had the temerity to say, your fiance is the ring announcer, Samantha Irving. And when I win, she's going to say the winner is Logan Paul. And Ricochet was like, you mother... And then I was like, why are you angry about it? I'm angry that my wife is going to do her job?
What's irritating? So I had seen this line on Twitter before seeing it in the show. And I was like, that is quite a good line. Like the idea that like your girl's going to call me a winner. It's kind of a dig. It's like one of those moments. And then when I saw it in action, it was very much like here's the context for the burn that I'm about to give you, because some people might not know. And I don't know where I sort of sit on that. Thankfully, I was sort of distracted by the little mini brawl they had, which I thought was pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and I liked it. And I thought they had some good... They do have good chemistry. I hope that if they are going to turn this into an absolute spot fest, they rehearse it to within an inch of its life so that it all pays off. Because...
Which they will do.
Well, they had the Royal Rumble spot, which was great. Like, I remember
Super.
watching it live and jumping out of my seat. And then the Money in the Bank spot, which didn't go so well because there are so many moving parts in the Money in the Bank.
I don't know why they bothered trying with that one.
Absolute nightmare. But so if they do it well, this little amuse-bouche, I've said that twice in this show, shows us what it could be. So I am excited for it. And to his credit, I think Ricochet has got better with his promos throughout this, even if the material has been a bit wonky.
Here's what I would say. Ricochet got a great reaction when he came out. This crowd were into Ricochet.
So what happens when you press cheer.wav?
I thought this was a genuine crowd reaction. And I was like, fair play to him. That's really good for Ricochet. I just thought the Samantha Irving thing was so lame.
It was a bit.
Because it was proper set up to be like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to sleep with her instead.
Yeah.
But it was like, she's going to do her job and announce me as the winner.
Cut to her going...
And she's like, no, I'm not going to... And Ricochet's like, I cannot believe you sunk to those depths. It's weird.
Setting up the next feud for Ricochet, which is Ricochet versus Samantha Irving, when she says Logan's the winner.
I hope so. Not Kathy Kelly interviewed Imperium.
Still hurts.
And he was disappointed in his team for losing a lot, which in fairness they do. So he'd set up Ludwig Kaiser to take on Matt Riddle, which came next, which was really good, hard-hitting action. There was actually a bit of interference from Imperium that backfired. And there's a really good near fall off the Powerbomb V-triggered knee. But then Kaiser kind of almost powered up by Gunther's encouragement at ringside, hit his variation of a DDT for the win. Good stuff.
Yeah, this match was brutal. They absolutely lamped each other. At one point, it looked like Kaiser was genuinely knocked for a loop by a stiff forearm from Riddle. But they had a great flow. I'm thinking a lot more about chemistry in the ring these days than I have done, because we saw it last week with Becky and Zoe. I think they have some good chemistry. We've seen it all. I mean, like Bullet Club Gold and FCR have incredible chemistry. And I think this is a good example of these two have some pretty decent flow to them. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Logan Paul was walking backstage and interviewed by Byron Saxton, who said again, this will be a viral match.
But he also he's got a recurring gag about Byron being bald now. He said something, called him baldy, and then he went, actually, I'm sorry about that, which is really funny. Like, I don't know why they've started doing this in there. Maybe Logan's going bald, or he's about to come out with a help you get your hair back kind of
I mean,
promotion.
Put so much caffeine in his other products, so might as well put it in hair stuff, I guess.
I'm into it.
They announced that Cody Rhodes has joined TikTok, everyone. So make sure you go and follow him. That would be such a lame thing to do on a broadcast. To go tell people to go follow someone on a social media channel. What a bunch of lamos.
We've been worrying that Cody might accidentally turn heel, and going on TikTok might just do it.
Yeah, I'm up to 821.
Oh wow, huge! If true, you can follow me as well. But I'm wildly successful already.
Look, you and Alex liked it. Alex, Queen of the Ring. That's like by 82 people so far.
Oh my God, Dad, focus. We've got a show to talk about, because meanwhile, they showed a weirdly romantic Cody and Brock package. Which began with the phrase, the saga continues, Would we call it a saga? I don't think so.
It's 3 matches.
Yeah.
That's a saga.
Is it?
No, well, no, it's a trilogy.
It's a trilogy. I wouldn't call it a saga. And yeah, it was set to this really like
weirdly romantic.
This really like
first note.
It was a really sentimental song, like being "Don't let the memories fade" of them like battering each other, and it just the thing that this package did was highlight to me how nothing has happened.
I know this video package was a bad idea because this video package shows like Brock attacked him on the night after WrestleMania, and then Cody cut a promo, so Brock attacked him,
and then Cody cut a promo,
and then they had a match and Cody won, so then Cody cut a promo, and then Brock attacked him, and then Cody cut a promo, and then they had another match, and Brock
hasn't
won.
said a single word. So like,
and it's the same thing in every promo.
Yeah.
He's wearing different suits. It's a different location, but sometimes his arm's in a sling. But
how do I live without you?
Everything he says is like that's the same words, but in a different order, and you've just used thesaurus.com.
Absolute bollocks was this.
Oh, great! I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. Speaking of enjoyment, Maxxine Dupri versus Valhalla. They bigged this up something fierce. This is Maxxine's
debut.
In-ring debut as a singles guy. Sean Ross Sapp was talking about this on the Fightful post show. She was brought in to be a manager. Yeah. She is like, really early days in her wrestling training. Yeah. She's working really hard at it, but this is proper early days to be putting her out there in this position. This used to happen in the mid-2000s, hiring in models and just giving them one afternoon, taking a few bumps, and then sending them out there to fail on their ass.
Yeah.
But here it's part of the character that she is learning. So she does arm drags, she does in comedy. It's like, wow, that's really good. She does a fisherman's suplex. It's not picture perfect, but hey, it's a good solid foundation there. She hits her finish. Like, that's a pretty solid foundation as well. Yeah. If anything, Valhalla was the problem in this match. She was messing things up left, right, and center, and then put her in a chin lock 30 seconds in.
I thought for one second she was going to do a one-winged angel, and I was like, that would have jumped the shark a little bit. The pink and black gear, absolutely beautiful. God, it looks. Someone should have thought that years ago. It looks. What a great color combination.
I mean, when they were standing next to Imperium, it really did look Barbenheimer.
It did. It was Barbenheimer. That's so funny. It's so interesting that she was brought in.
That was a very good Heart Foundation joke as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very good. To know that she was in fact brought in to be manager, because one of the thoughts I had during this was exactly as you say, the moves looked good, if not perfect. They still look good, and I've seen a lot worse from a lot of different wrestlers. It put me in mind of Trish, right? Who started off as purely there to be a bit of TNA, and then went on to become an iconic superstar in her own right. And hearing Maxxine talk about the singlet choice, hearing Maxxine talk about how she likes getting involved, this chemistry that she has, and it I think part of the reason we're all buying into it is that it feels genuine.
It does feel genuine.
It feels like she's really willing to throw herself at it.
Sells it so well.
I'm a big fan, and I think that if you put her with Finlay, put her with Molly Holly, like backstage, she could do a lot of good stuff, and I'm really pleased for her.
Her facials are so good in the ring, and she sells things so well.
As fans, all we want really is someone who cares and gives a go. And like, we want to see good stuff. We want to see good wrestling. But this is such an interesting moment to watch the genesis of someone who I think has the capacity to go on to be a massive star, or a very big star. Like, I think she's really good. I'm into it.
And it's a hugely overacted. Yeah. Well. I mean, it's really, really great. I said this in my edited review, but I'm gutted that the 6 of them aren't getting something from SummerSlam. Like, Otis and Gable are in the SummerSlam Battle Royal for nothing. And that's okay, I guess. Like, I think Chad will probably get a good showing. He might even win to set up the Gunther program. I kind of feel like it's a match there for LA Knight to win.
Yeah, I would rather them have had like a kickoff show.
A 6-man tag, with all 6
Alpha
of them
rules.
in there. Yeah, and the Alpha Rules match, you do that at the pay-per-view. Like, you can do that on Raw the following week, sure. And that's not the worst thing in the world. They're doing Trish and Becky on Raw. They're doing Raquel and Ripley on Raw. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but I kind of wanted them to be on a big stage and get that really big traveling crowd reaction.
Hopefully they'll get a proper spot.
I hope so.
In the match.
Nakamura and Ciampa had a little chat backstage, again announcing themselves for that Battle Royal, which we talked about there. Then Judgment Day came out for a promo.
Dom holding his belt like a lunchbox. Just sort of.
More or less they cut the same promo that they've been cutting for the last few months.
Yeah.
Dom gets the wonderful heat, and then they were sort of about putting Owens and Morgan on the shelf, entering Kevin Owens and Liv Morgan. That is poor Liv Morgan, by the way. Didn't get to say that last week. And then out comes Raquel Rodriguez, who had a genuinely brilliant brawl with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
This was full of intense. This was full of piss and vinegar. It was dead good. She was thrown around the ringside. It was really intense. And then she got distracted by Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley chop blocked her, and Raquel had to act. And this is where it fell apart a little bit, because bless her cotton socks, she's not an actor. And I don't think she's very good at selling. And her screams and her yelps were so unconvincing. You know what I was talking about with Maxxine? You buy into it and you think she's genuine. What I see there is someone play acting at being her.
Well,
and she was awful in the backstage segment with Adam Pearce later on.
Yeah.
Genuinely like an all-time terrible acting performance. And Natalia would look at her and be like, oh, I think you should do a bit better than that next time. Like it was that level of like really bad.
Use Natalia for that level of shit.
Well, that is the barometer, really.
Not on my watch. No, I'm a little bit more lenient than you. I will say last week with Liv Morgan, God, I was so annoyed. Like she was doing the same kind of overselling, and it was like, I thought you liked pain. Wasn't that your gimmick for a while?
Or a week.
It's that thing of like, there's something about seeing wrestlers get real injuries and knowing, like when Bryan Danielson's a great example. Recently broke his arm in his match and carried on. Bob Holly did that years ago. They kind of don't react when they're genuinely injured. And I don't know if that's because it's just the adrenaline flowing from the performance, and then there's something they know something's wrong, but also there's that mind of just get through it. Like Liv has done that herself.
Just finished the match.
Yeah, finished the match. I also think there's something about when you get hurt, you go, oh, something's wrong, and it takes a second for it to really feel the pain, and then Christ. Also, these are incredibly athletic, real people who can have an incredibly high pain threshold. So when you start selling it by going, I'm crying, and it's like anywhere, it's like too much. It's like, okay.
From a chop block as well.
Yeah. So that part, I'm like, chill out a little bit. But the brawl part,
was awesome.
Really enjoyed.
Oh, it was so good.
And it's this thing of Raquel being more than just the sum of her back. Like she has got a presence. She was on NXT a bit of a monster. And I've been excited by the idea of, her and Becky. They've teased her and Rhea. They've teased Becky and Rhea as well. So I liked the fact that she got some licks in. I thought it was hilarious that Judgment Day were just standing there watching. Like, not that they could go and like take it to her, but they could probably stand in between.
Yeah.
But they were just sort of like, oh
dear.
Rhea's got this, so she's fine. Like, really solidifying to us that Rhea is the muscle.
Stop stepping.
Yeah, yeah, kind of thing. So yeah, I like Raquel Rodriguez.
Honestly, everyone should go and watch her backstage segment. It is hilarious how bad it is.
I'm a little bit less on this train than you. I thought it was fine.
Their match will be awesome.
Do you think it's going to happen on Raw? He said it's when you're cleared, you'll get it.
So
I wondered whether or not there'll be a surprise match at SummerSlam.
It's already 8 matches deep.
Is it?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like in the Triple H era to be doing a 9-match card, even if the Battle Royals and the pre-show, which I suspect it might be. We then got the first of 2 video packages to hype up Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey.
This is what I'm talking about.
I've got very few notes on this.
Yeah, I've got lots. That's fine.
Genuinely captivated by it. I had a bit of a thing a couple of weeks back when Ronda had her promo outside in the crowd, where she was given word salad, and she was just like, I've got to remember every single one of these lines and every single one of these syllables, so I'm just going to get through it as quickly as I possibly can. So she just like rattled through every line. And I think, this is what I was talking about. This is what you should have Ronda do. Because this was just, here are some bullet points for you to talk about. Genuine, real things that mean something to you, and tell us about it. Because these were genuine, real promos from Ronda Rousey, and in particular Shayna Baszler as well, talking about their history, kind of explaining to viewers what the Ultimate Fighter is and the TV show.
Because I don't know
exactly how it works as the mentor-mentee sort of thing. And it was a brilliant history lesson of these two. I kind of wish they'd been doing this for the last few weeks, as opposed to just doing all of this in the final week of the show. Maybe this is a reaction to the in-ring promo or the Skybox promo that we got a couple of weeks back. But it was just, here's us talking very real on a very real level what this feud is and what this feud means and what this match means to us as individuals, as characters, and as people. I thought it was breathtakingly great.
Yeah. Should we do both parts together? Because I've got notes for both parts. I don't know if we want to split them up because obviously it was spread over the course of the show.
Yeah, what should we do both of them now?
Yeah. So I was kind of a little bit... because of timings today, I was fast forwarding through. I was watching on double speed generally the promo segments. And then I slowed down for this one because I was like, oh, hang on. They're doing something really interesting here. And I wanted to, because I was also captivated by it and I wanted to give it my full time. I've spoken a couple of times about wanting to see a change in the production, change in the way that they do some of these promos, because we have now had roughly 25 years of backstage segments and fourth wall and all of that stuff. And it just feels like we need something fresh. We need something new. That's not to say to get rid of it entirely. I do like in-ring promos as well. I do like promos on the ramp, backstage interviews, a couple of backstage segments here and there.
Stuff.
Yeah, I would like more like this, the Sheamus and Drew McIntyre training session for leading into WrestleMania, because it feels real. It's elements of reality TV. It's elements of the preamble for a sports show when you watch the Premier League match or whatever. And it really allows people to buy into it, because when you're not having to deal with the crowd, when you're not having to deal with memorizing a script, when you can do takes that you can edit footage over if you need to splice together or Frankenstein something, you can get a better performance generally from people. And actually what happened here went beyond performance, because it felt incredibly authentic. And there were so many different layers to it. When Ronda's talking about her being a bartender watching Shayna Baszler in like MMA, it reminds you that we always think of Ronda Rousey as Ronda Rousey. You get the pictures of her, because WWE want to sell the idea that they've got this iconic person on their roster. We see pictures of her on red carpets. We see pictures of her in movies. We see pictures of her with the belt. At one point, she was just a bartender hoping to get a break, right? And that makes her ascent to the top in the space of time she did it even more impressive.
And what's great about that is because she's talking about watching Shayna Baszler. So Baszler's
Exactly.
already doing the work before Ronda's even on the scene, which means then when Shayna gets onto Ultimate Fighter, Ronda is her mentor.
Yeah.
And like the sort of, it's like, really this should be the other way round.
And you get the two lines here that were really great, which was Ronda said she was filling her space instead of meekly occupying it, which I found so... God, that says a lot, doesn't it, about a person? Like, we all need to fill our space. Like, we should be, rather than just being like sort of happy to be there. And then Shayna was like, I was way past being an up-and-comer, which kind of, again, gives the context for everything. The energy was sad. It was reflective. It was thoughtful. It was personal. And then when we get to the second part, both of them shed tears.
That's one of the things I loved about
and I
this.
didn't expect it.
Every single thing that they were saying, whether it be talking about a memory that they have, and when even Shayna's talking about how angry she is that she used to stay like Ronda put us up in her house, but sort of as a reward for that, I had to mimic all of the people that she was fighting and be a sparring partner, but she never showed up for any of my sparring days. She's close to tears every single time.
Yeah.
And Ronda's close to tears every single time. And particularly when Shayna brings up the kids.
Yeah.
It is a genuine, like, she's holding back these tears. But I have to say this because this means so much to me to say. This idea that outside of Ronda and her mother, I'm the third person that got to hold her daughter. I'm her godmother. And she's never going to forgive me for what I'm going to do to her mum.
And what's so interesting about all of it is that, do I believe that these two actually hate each other and they're going to rip each other apart? No, it's a storyline. I think they're friends and they're doing well. But because they're using their real emotion, because they're talking about real things but twisting them slightly. So when Ronda did get emotional, her one, which so took me by surprise, I didn't expect to see it, and I didn't expect for me to feel so emotional with it as well, was that she was essentially saying, when everyone turned on me, by who she means us, the fans, because we in large part did during that Becky Charlotte Ronda feud. It was like, and it was compounded by her insecurity, letting her start being like, you're all fake, like it's fake, insulting the business, and by virtue insulting us kind of thing. we all know that that's something that really affects Ronda. And she said Shayna was there for me. Shayna never gave up on me. Shayna never turned her back. And that was a really emotional thing. There's real emotion there for Ronda to feel. And then she talked about the story of the king and the stable boy. How when everyone, I'm paraphrasing it, but basically everyone turned on the king. The stable boy was kind. So the king gave the stable boy things. And eventually the stable boy felt entitled to those things and took out the king. What I love about that as a reference, and her saying it very emotionally and very sadly and very thoughtfully, she's still framing herself as above Shayna Baszler. Earnestly.
Yeah.
Not out of, I'm better than her. She's saying, like, I'm the king in this story. Like, she's not even saying those words. But it's just so deeply moving, thoughtful, interesting character stuff from people who, you are right, like you said a couple of weeks ago, and they showed a clip of her doing her speech in this, and they gave her a lot of words to tumble over, and she did, because she's not as confident in that as she is in the other things. This was so brilliant.
It was great.
And I'd love to see more like it, because it really feels fresh and different and lets your stars shine in ways that they don't get to otherwise.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
I thought this was spellbinding stuff. I genuinely thought this was like, outside of the Chad Gable thing, I thought this was the best thing on the show.
Yes,
and
I agree.
And for a go-home show, you need to heat up matches. That's the whole point of a go-home show. This, for me, really heated up the match that they're going to have this Saturday. The only negative I've got on this now is it's an MMA rules match, and I've got this real, like, internal panic that it's going to be overly gimmicky. And what they're going to do, it's going to go one of two ways. Either they're just going to have an MMA fight, and whoever wins, or they're going to do worked MMA, which is genuinely terrible, and they'll do it with judges, scorecards, strikes, and everything else. And I think the crowd might turn on that because it will be...
It's not what we're there for.
That's not what they're there for. It'll be overly gimmicky and it could be bad.
Let's see when we get there, I think.
I
want to let this be itself, and I'll complain about the match.
I completely agree with you. It's just it's an internal worry that I've got, because it is like they've MMA ruled, and it's like they have not explained what that is. Yeah. And when WWE don't explain what a match is before a match happens, it's always bad. May I remind you of a pitch black match?
I didn't really mind the pitch black match.
You were the only person. We then got Shinsuke Nakamura versus Tommaso Ciampa.
They did it. They did that. But I expect more.
Nakamura won. Hook the tights.
One thing I do, they talk about this a lot, and I've noticed a lot. Corey Graves was talking about how Nax never lived up to his potential. Who's in control of that? Who's got the pen in his hand?
Yes.
Who are the people who book it?
Yeah.
So stop telling us about all these people who've never lived up to their potential, because it's all your fault. Next.
I was so upset with this.
It just wasn't.
It's Ciampa versus Nakamura.
Yeah. They didn't even have a TV match. They just did some moves.
Well, like, Nakamura made his entrance, then they cut to something else. Yeah. And when they cut back, Tommaso Ciampa didn't even have an entrance. I was like, well, but you've been back 3 weeks and you're already Ciampatized. Yeah. You're just a lad now. And really what you are is you're third place Ricochet, because Ricochet's moved to a bigger program, but we need to continue this Nakamura Bronson Reed program that we actually dropped for a handful of weeks.
We have already spent more time on it than they have.
So Brock came out for a promo.
He speaks!
And he played with the crowd, let them do the what thing, and he sort of played up to this. He called out Cody. And much like the opening segment of this show, they shook hands and then they had a brawl. This was honestly rubbish.
This ain't it. This ain't it.
Rubbish this is.
Yeah, so all we've been asking for is a bit of logic, a bit of why is he doing this?
Something.
Yeah.
I just need something in this story.
And Brock Lesnar said, I get paid to have a fight at SummerSlam, and my biggest paycheck right now is Cody Rhodes. That's essentially what he said was, I'm going to get paid to fight at SummerSlam. But that second half of that I've just added in, that I figured out my biggest paycheck is Cody Rhodes, so I took him out. Like, that's all. That's fine. That's fine. That's all I need. Just something. And then, I liked Cody blocking him from leaving, and I liked him going for a dive. But then he just bashed him loads.
But cool. Brock beat him up around ringside. Like, I saw this literally 2 weeks ago. And do you know when I saw it before then? 2 weeks before that. And then I saw him do it in a match. And then I saw it 2 weeks before that.
Do you know when I last saw it? In a weirdly romantic montage.
This feud is just, it's been going nowhere. And I know people got really hot on us when we did the is this stale, is this storyline stale, because people took that to mean that we thought that Cody is stale and Brock is stale.
Oh, no.
And that's not what we
Neither
said.
of them are.
That's not what we said in the episode. There was a lot of people misinterpreting what we were saying. But this story is stale as all get-outs.
You're going to struggle to find a bigger Cody fan than me at the moment. And I think Brock is a beast, and I always love seeing him on the show, and I always pop for him when he shows up. Neither of them are the problem. They're going to have a good match at the weekend. I just don't care.
If this feud was a stick of baguette, if you hit someone with that stick of baguette, it would be harder than a Brock strike. The bread would be that stale.
Ah, there you go. That took me far too long to understand why we were talking about baguettes. But yeah, what a rubbish segment. And then they gave us Gunther and Gable, and that made up for it.
That did make up for it. But yeah, it's just I cannot wait for these two to do something else.
Yeah.
We then got Becky Lynch coming out for a promo saying, and apparently they had advertised this ahead of time, they're going to have the Trish Stratus match now.
Well, Becky came out.
I thought it was happening at SummerSlam.
So did I, but they never said that. But Becky came out, and the announcement, the following contest is scheduled for one fall. And then Becky's like, I think we should have a match now. And I was like,
yeah.
Are you not? Like, I don't understand. So yeah, I was also taken aback, and I wrote, this is where Lita comes back. Then what happened?
Well, Trish came out and said in her gear, I was going to do this, but I've decided I'm not going to do this. And I'm not going to do it at SummerSlam either. I'll decide when it's going to happen. So Adam Pearce comes out and said, it's going to happen right now. And so the bell rings. Zoe Stark jumps in and immediately gets the DQ.
Which, like, fine.
Which is fine. And I actually like the follow-up to this, which is Trish and Zoe walking backstage and being like, the rematch has happened.
There was a bell rang.
A bell rang, and then a bell rang, SmackDown happened, and then a bell ended. Like that, the rematch has taken place. Like, we don't need to do this anymore. Fine. I thought that's brilliant. I wish they'd set that up. You know, if that was going to be your payoff, set that up in Trish's promo.
Or even...
So like Trish comes out and being like, yeah, we are going to do this match now, and I cannot wait to kick your teeth down your throat.
Yeah. Adam Pearce doesn't need to be there for that part.
Yeah, and Zoe just jumps in. Yeah, you could have actually removed Adam Pearce from this completely, but just had Adam Pearce in the segment afterwards.
Yes.
I think that there's a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
And then they announced it's actually going to happen in a couple of weeks' time when they're in Canada, and Zoe's barred from ringside.
Zoe was battering away, and I was like, this is where Lita comes out, and then Lita will be in Becky's corner at SummerSlam, and they'll have the match there. And then I was like, huh? All right. And then I just moved on.
Here's what I will say, though, and this is my big thumbs up. You looked at your SummerSlam card and thought, that's already 8 matches too long. Let's take a couple of matches off this. Let's not do Ripley and Raquel. Let's not do Becky and Granted, all the women's matches. Let's not do Becky and Trish. Yeah. We'll do those on Raw instead, because otherwise we end up with a bloated pay-per-view card.
And nobody wants that.
And nobody wants that, Tony Khan. So
it's not even me this time.
I thought that was that in a nutshell is very good. Then we got our main event, which was Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins taking on the Judgment Day, and you'll never guess what, the crowd went ballistic for this, because they always do for Sami Zayn main events. Yeah. Sami Zayn in tag matches at the main eventing Monday Night Raw, and the crowd just goes nuts for it, and it's awesome, and I love it. But this was a great match, as you would expect it to be, because it's these 4 guys going in there. The Judgment Day team was Priest and dirty Dominic Mysterio, of course. But what happened at the finish?
Oh, this was interesting.
This was a really great finish.
Because I wasn't so hot on the match. I just thought it was fine. Like, for me, I wrote it was a bog standard go home before a big show main event. Tag team rather than triple threat because KO's injured.
It's every like Raw main event for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But I kind of every single time it happens, I'm like, it's good. It's great wrestling, and the crowd are always so hot for it.
But I wasn't so. I just was like, fine.
Yeah.
And then
it's easy to tune out of.
Yeah. And then we got an interesting segment, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because you even saw me sit up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Because what happened is that Damian Priest hit the razor's edge onto Seth Rollins, was gonna go for the pin, and then thought, actually, could cash in now. So he yells at Balor to get the briefcase. He's going to cash in Money in the Bank right now and win the world title. And there's a little moment's hesitation from Balor being like, now? And Priest's like, yeah, let's do this now. So Balor goes and grabs the briefcase. He gets up onto the apron and he's going to hand it over, but there's like this, it's not a moment's hesitation of, I don't want you to do this. But at the same time, it was enough of a moment's hesitation that it could look like it's either way of are you sure you want to do this now because he's getting back up? Or, I don't want you to do this because I want to be the guy that wins the belt. And it was enough of a momentary distraction that Rollins did recover and he hit everyone with the briefcase, and he hit the stomp on Priest and got the win. And Balor was like beside himself at ringside. He was angry, almost angry at himself that his moment's hesitation cost his friend from winning the world title. And Priest is pissing blood from his forehead as well. He's just like holding on to his face as they're walking up the ramp separately as well. Balor's at ringside. The rest of Judgment Day are going this way as Sami and Seth celebrate. This was a really, really fun and creative finish.
It was a nice bit of story because what's so interesting about that is if Priest did win the belt, Seth and Finn already signed their contract, so they're having a match, but it's not for the title because the title's not involved. So Finn loses out on that opportunity. It is not like he just doesn't. Hopefully, I'll get another one down the line from Priest, but like he doesn't get to. He'll still have the match. He just doesn't get to take the belt off, which will not scratch that 7-year itch. Did you see that last week? 7-year itch.
I haven't actually watched last week's episode of Raw.
So Finn said, "You were on holiday. That's allowed." Finn said, "I've got this. It's been this 7-year itch. Now I'm going to make you my 7-year bitch." And I went, ha! So
it's quite good, really.
Yeah. So, but he wouldn't be able to scratch that itch because he wouldn't be able to take the title off Seth. So it would still be there. So there was that level of wrinkle as well. There's also the idea of like, you know, it's Priest's to cash in whenever Priest wants, but this conflict of interest within the group where they're both going for the title, or maybe when one of them already has the title. There's so much like drama in there, and like we are mates, and we've healed our wounds. But what do we do? Like it's so compelling. I'm really intrigued by it, and it took me out of what otherwise was a perfectly tuned out match. Put me back into what was otherwise.
I'll go into this a bit more on the predictions video that will go out tomorrow that Pete and I recorded earlier today. I do think Balor's winning.
Me too.
I think the title is way more interesting in Judgment Day.
Me too. It looks more valuable.
I also don't think the Priest is cashing in.
No,
at SummerSlam, I think it's a night for EO to cash in. I don't think they'll do both.
You think EO's going to cash in?
I think EO might cash in SummerSlam.
I don't think so.
No.
But I mean, that's an interesting one, but I don't think so.
I don't think Priest is cashing in.
No, I think that one's pretty certain. Yeah,
but I am kind of pegged on. I think that Balor's going to win the belt.
It just makes the belt look more a thing that people want more than Seth having it.
I don't think Seth's doing anything of interest with that belt.
I think it's made Seth less.
Yeah, I think it has.
Like not in terms of the crowd reactions. People still eat him up, but I just think that it makes Seth less interesting.
Yeah, it really has. I don't think it's doing any wonders for him, but I think it would do great within the Judgment Day.
I think so too.
So that was this week's episode of Raw. I thought this was a fine go-home show.
Yeah.
Because go-home shows are not the best weapon in a Triple H booking arsenal.
He's not. No.
He's not really known to do good ones, but I thought this actually... Every segment, more or less, was designed to hype up matches that are happening this weekend on the Raw side of things. And in some cases, heated them up more. I think, the Logan Paul Ricochet one, for example. Cody Brock, maybe not so much. But certainly Ronda and Shayna, I thought was superb.
Oh, my God.
And with the Gunther and Chad Gable stuff, I did give this a 4 out of 5. Perhaps that's slightly high. But there's some of the stuff I thought was excellent.
Well, we've decided to be Siskel and Ebert now, so I would also give it a little
thumbs up. And we've got our thumbs up, thumbs down, a thumbs in the middle poll. So go and vote on that right now. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Please do get in your remaining Alpha Chats. Ding, ding, ding. This is your last call. Rob Burwell here said, I'll throw to you for the bit.
That's my boy. No, my boy.
Bit is hilarious. I listen to it anytime I need a good laugh. Also, Chad Gable dethroning Gunther as soon as he beats Honky Tonk Man's record has to happen. I'd love for it to be an Iron Man match. Make beating Gunther special.
I should, for people who have no context, As Of Movie is an online sketch that Ashton Kutcher just loves. He tweeted out the second one. That's what started to make it go viral moment. And I do some of the voices in it. It's my friend Tom's thing. And one of those sounds went viral on TikTok. My girlfriend didn't know it was me. Blampier didn't know it was me. It was quite something. Also, to this point, make beating Gunther special. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's the same with Roman Reigns. And it's a championship reign is one thing. How you follow it up is a whole other story. There are a million possibilities, but it could go really wrong. I think you want to make Gunther feel special by having this be a real moment. Yeah.
We had our poll up earlier about who should beat Gunther for the IC title. Gable was the resounding winner here with 56% of the vote. Wonderful mod mother has apologized. She's tired for her spelling. And that's, these things happen.
It's Dragunov. It's difficult. It says Dragunov, doesn't it? We knew what it meant.
Sheamus got 22% of the vote. Dragunov got 15%, and poor old Pete Dunne only got 5% of the votes.
What's interesting there, to be Steve Kornacki from MSNBC a little bit, is that the 15% and the 5%, you add that all together, and it's still less than Gable. More people seem to want Gable than want Sheamus or any of the other alternatives.
And perhaps that's some recency bias. We're on a show where Chad Gable's the lead, so maybe it's not a fair comparison.
But I think most people have seen Sheamus and gone, yes, it's Sheamus's. But I honestly think it's Chad.
But I think they've moved Sheamus away so far away because they're on different brands now from that story that it doesn't feel like that's the story that Sheamus
I think it's an unfortunate moment that Sheamus's brilliant story of wanting to complete his collection collided with Gunther. I do think you could probably have him do it in like a year's time, and like maybe he could do it at WrestleMania off Chad. Like I don't know, we'll see what happens when we get to the Royal Rumble. Like brand split means nothing usually by WrestleMania, so yeah, I don't know.
Christopher Dunstan, who's been a member for 6 months in a row, says, hello, I just want to say thank you to all the people who work so hard behind the scenes and all the talent. Today is my birthday. Jam that jam.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday
it's also
to
Pete's
you.
birthday.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And Pika Pig 123 said, does anyone else notice that Professor Dan Layton looks similar to Joe Gacy from NXT? Perhaps they are long-lost brothers. Or Joe Gacy is Dan's evil American twin brother. I could not disagree more. You look nothing alike outside of the fact you have hair and a beard.
I can't remember what Joe Gacy... I don't look anything like Joe Gacy.
No.
This is Joe Gacy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you look nothing like him.
Honestly, white man with a beard, people do think it a lot. Kip Sabian, I'll absolutely take it.
You look a lot like him.
I look a lot like Kip Sabian, although less so now.
Yeah.
Kip's gone for a whole different look. But, I once tweeted that I am an alternate universe version of Kip Sapien where he prefers chips to the gym. And Kip Sapien thought it was very funny. He liked it and laughed. He did a little cry laugh emoji.
Because I
was like, noticed.
when I first shaved my head, everyone was like, you look like Baron Corbin. I was like, no,
you don't.
I don't. I've just got a shaved head, and so has he.
Yeah.
I was like, I know, really, I there's only one person that I look like.
Who's that?
I was trying to see if I can rack my brain to see if I could always forget their name.
So you wanted to have it lined up, otherwise
I wanted to have it lined up because it's almost uncanny.
You know the 2 jokes I told you yesterday?
Yeah.
Can I tell you the other short one?
Please
Is
do.
it spicy? I told a joke last week and some people missed it on the ads, but it was really funny, so I'm going to tell you another short joke. Where did Saddam Hussein keep his CDs? In Iraq.
Hilary Swank.
You look like Hilary Swank. That's so funny. I can see it.
Google a picture of Hilary Swank. Yeah, it is.
For $1 Million Boy.
Well, we have $1 Million Baby.
That one.
You're thinking of Boys Don't Cry.
I am.
Particularly when I had long hair, we had the exact same, the straight hair as well. We've got the same nose, the same chin shape.
Oh my god. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great. I've seen it. Yeah, that's good.
That's my twin right there. And we have a missing username here. Please do. We apologize for that. Let us know. Let our moderators know in the chats who you are, and we can get your name read out before the show goes off the air. Who says, I had this thought. Jay never looked at the contract on SmackDown. He ripped it up. That's how he won't win the title.
Ollie had a really interesting bit of fantasy booking earlier on, and I don't know if he wants to keep it to himself. I want to say because I thought it was quite good, so credit to Ollie Davis for this, which was that he sees a world where Jay or Roman breaks the rules of tribal combat, so wins the match, and thus keeps the championship, but the elders strip him of being the tribal chief and hand it over to Jay, and that way you can continue the storyline. Like I say, I don't see for a second that championship coming off Roman. Got all the respect in the world to Jay, who I think has been I've said it a million times, an absolute major player in this. His performances have really been a lot of the beating heart of what's gone down over the past year or so. I just don't think that that's who you give the belt to at this point.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll go into this some more on tomorrow's show. I think Roman retains. Jimmy turns on Jay. Payback is a triple threat. Jay, Jimmy, and Roman. Or Fatal 4-Way, throw Solo in there.
I'm just really, really sure about Roman winning tomorrow.
On Saturday, you mean?
That one. I'm just really sure about it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a tease that is for this coming Saturday. Because it is a busy week here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. It's SummerSlam week.
I'm very excited.
Tomorrow it is the SummerSlam predictions. It's myself and Chopper Pete Quinnell. We are fighting over the Jam That Championship. And then on Thursday, it's Dynamite 200. On Friday, my 32-minute chat with Double J, Jeff Jarrett, will be going live here on this channel.
Brie, and if I may, woo.
And on Saturday, it will be the SmackDown review, followed by our SummerSlam predictions later on that evening. On the Sunday, it will be myself and Pete Quinnell reviewing SummerSlam. And then on Monday, it will be me and you reviewing Collision.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Tuesday, you
We're
and I
back
again to review Monday Night Raw.
I might make cocktails for Saturday.
Oh,
I've got a little bar cart going on. I can make us a little we can have like a pina colada. Something. Something summary.
That'll be the fanciest live stream reactions we've ever done.
That's why you bring me in.
The fanciest it's got so far is I once had a gin in a tin.
You did have that. I gave it to you. I got you several.
Oh, yeah. And this is like when we first started doing live streams as well. Like I bought snacks and I bought G&Ts in tins. And I was like, I'm so fancy.
Just you wait.
So please do press the subscribe button if it's your first time here and you've made it this far. Also, press the thumbs up button. Go and follow me on Instagrams. I am up to 898 followers.
That's actually really impressive.
That is impressive. And 159 people have liked the photo, and 64 people have commented.
I mean, that's all about the engagement.
Look at this engagement. Look at this.
Oh, I've made a full mistake. I should have also done that. That's really good engagement. Oh, well, never mind.
Never mind. It's my idea now.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Luco in DAD. This has been the Professor Dan Layton. We have been Pretty Dadly. Jam that jam.